Weekdays 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. Only on News Talk 720 KDWN, where locals come to talk.
All right, we got the gun guys here. Tim Farrell's here. David Stillwell talking about open carry. And they just told me during the break that if you're a chick and you're like, if there's a scale between 1 and 10, you get an extra 2 points automatically if you're open carrying. That is really cool. Thank you, guys. All right, Tim, I wanted you to respond to Ray, who was upset about a couple of things. Go ahead.
Sure. Well, Officer Ray was talking about the reasonableness factor. And the problem with a reasonableness factor is that it's really subjective, right? It varies from one officer to another. Officer Ray indicated that carrying a handgun on the strip wasn't unreasonable. As I discovered a couple of years ago, some officers on Metro thought otherwise. The problem is, do I consider or will I carry an AK-47 in public? Chances are probably pretty low of that. However, it is still a right, and I will absolutely defend forever that as long as someone is doing something that's not illegal and is within their rights, that reasonable or not, that person should not be a criminal.
Yeah, but here's, I don't want to get all biblical on you, but let me just do this for a second, okay? And then maybe this is the wrong context, but there, the Apostle Paul talks in the Bible about things that you might do that might be a stumbling block to other people. And I was not talking about handguns, clearly, but some other things. For example, if somebody around you has a drinking problem, even if you have the right to drink, it's not a sin to drink, you might not want to do that because it could be a stumbling block to somebody else, right? If they've got a temptation. And so I'm just wondering if is that the same thing or is that wrong?
I don't really see the connection. I mean,
yeah, maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, when you're carrying a gun, it's for no other person. It's for you.
Yeah,
it's
but aren't you flaunting your right sometimes and just trying to go, I'm going to make a point and I don't really care who I shake up because I still have the right and you just have to accept this. I mean,
Heidi, as you saw when I first came in, I'm a pretty big guy. Yeah. When I walked in, it was chilly this morning. I've actually got a coat covering my weapon today.
Right.
So I'm concealed carry. When it gets warmer this afternoon, my coat will come off and I'll be open carry. During the summer, I'm open carry. Yeah. It's just more comfortable for me. It's my preferred method of carry. Yeah. It has nothing to do with flaunting it or it's my right or anything else.
But the AK-47, I mean, come on.
Well, I think Officer Ray hijacked the whole thing with the AK-47 because that's not what we do.
Right, but
Neither one of us have done that.
Yeah, but people who are proponents, and you don't represent every single person, but people who are proponents of open carry will go that far. It's not your responsibility with those guys. But he was asking you directly, is that okay to carry an AK-47 down the street?
Here's the answer to Officer Ray's reasonableness argument, and at the risk of being a little, well, I'll just say it. The Supreme Court of the United States said that slavery was reasonable at one time. They went along with it. So reasonableness has a lot to do with the conditions in which your environment.
Right, but you're going to expect to get, there are things I could wear in public that I could legally wear in public that there's no way I would wear, that are pushing the limits of decency. I couldn't get arrested for it, but I could certainly attract a lot of attention, and I just wouldn't do it. And I mean, maybe there's reasonableness in a lot of things.
That's why liberties are based on the individual. That's why they're called individual liberties, because in order to be we the people, it has to come from all walks. And yeah, I'll roll my eyes at certain people for what they do, and I might not think it's the greatest. But at the end of the day, as long as they're not harming me or anybody else, not committing crime, I say let them go.
Okay, 257 KDWN. Marcus, welcome to the Heidie Harris Show.
Morning, Heidi.
Hi.
Hi, listening with great interest to these people, and there's still some things that they've not answered, like, in a perfect world, according to them, everybody should be able to open carry. But when that happens, how will we know if a gun is registered if we don't have the authority to stop people? How will we know if a gun's not stolen? How will we know if it's not a prohibited person? There's many categories of prohibited persons. Ex-felons. Yeah, under their world, I would be in the carry as an
Okay, you're cutting out, but I get the point. That's his point. Is that how do we know if these people have a legal right to even own the gun? Or is that not a police officer's business to ask?
Well, it's part of an investigation, right? There's lots of things that a person could do. For example, it's not lawful to carry marijuana. A common way to carry marijuana might be in a cigarette pack. So if you see me with a cigarette pack in my pocket, does that give you the authority or the right to stop me to inspect my cigarette pack to check for illegal narcotics?
Well, no, I get that, but like let's take it in the context of a car. You're driving a car down the street. It's very routine for a police officer to just be sitting there at a light typing in license plates. They do it all the time just to check, and maybe somebody comes back with a warrant. Boom, we're going to pull you over. But they're checking. Now, it's not the same thing as walking up to you on the street, but essentially it is because there's no probable cause. They're just running plates just for the heck of it at a light. And
But they're not checking you for a driver's license. How do you know that every car standing on an overpass and see every car going down a freeway? How do you not know that not every driver has a driver's license? You're never going to know that.
No,
that's the world we live in.
Well, you don't. But I mean, when you're looking at cars, potentially something could come up, that was stolen. Right. That's why they're doing it. And there's no probable cause other than the car sitting at a light and they're typing it in.
Okay, well, and there is a crime associated with not having properly registered tags. There is a crime associated with not having insurance.
There's a crime associated if you beat your ex-wife and you've got a gun.
Right.
Or without a gun as well.
Right, but you're not allowed to have that gun afterward. Even if you've been convicted of that, you're not allowed to have it.
Correct.
And so if there's a restraining order against you, you're not allowed to have the gun. So, if you're going to argue about that, then the police officer shouldn't be able to type license plates in randomly into their computer and check for possible warrants and things like that because there's no probable cause.
Well, that's called a plain sight search. He can see your license plate. He can type that in.
He can see your gun and he can stop and say, hey, is that gun legal?
So the open carry, well, this caller said that we advocate everybody should open carry. I don't think that's ever come up. We're not saying that. It's an individual thing that people can choose to do should that be their cup of tea.
Yeah, 257 KDWN. Richard, welcome to the Heidie Harris Show.
Thank you, Heidi. First of all, I want to say thanks for teeing up a lot of the questions you are. I know you're a concealed carry advocate, and you've said that a lot of times on the air, but we really need this conversation. And my second point is on Officer Ray. He's looking for a reasonable reason why these people would be carrying an AK in public. We don't need to prove reasonableness of our actions. They have to have a reasonable idea that a crime is being committed. He knew they were there with a video camera. He knew why they were doing it. So, in fact, he knew that there was no crime being committed, but he also wanted to provoke a confrontation with these guys because that type of behavior does create a problem for police. But this is about, the one word I am not hearing much in this conversation, and I'd like to hear it more, is this is about culture. We're trying to create a culture where it's reasonable and acceptable for people to exercise their rights in responsible ways.
Yeah.
But if the police use their authority to overpower a type of activism that they don't like, then that's just as unreasonable to me as a person who insists on carrying an AK in public, especially when, by his own admission, Officer Ray knew full well that this is crime. This is about exerting rights.
Yeah, that's a great point, Richard. I appreciate the call. Listen, guys, we didn't get all the calls in, but we're doing our best. Tim Farrell, thank you for being here. David Stillwell, thank you for being here, guys. We will talk again.
Thanks, Heidi.
All right, good to have you.